Limit is y goes to -3 of 9 minus y squared over y minus 1 plus the square root of y squared minus y plus 4. The first thing we're going to do is try plugging a -3 in for each of the y's. That'll be 9 minus a -3 squared over -3 minus 1 plus the square root of -3 squared minus a -3 plus a 4. In the numerator we have 9 minus a -3 squared, which is a 9, over -3 minus 1, which is a -4, plus the square root of -3 squared is 9, minus a -3 is plus 3, plus 4. So we have 9 minus 9 divided by -4 plus the square root of 9 plus 3 is 12, plus 4 is 16. 9 minus 9 over -4 plus the square root of 16, which is a 4, will give us a 0 over 0 indeterminate form. We have to rework this. Since we have a root combination, the root involving the variable y in some way, added or subtracted together with at least one other term that's happening in the denominator here, we can try the root conjugate method. I'm going to rewrite the limit as y goes to -3 of 9 minus y squared divided by y minus 1 plus the square root of y squared minus y plus 4. The root conjugate of the combination in the denominator will be the same terms but opposite sign between them and the root, so it'll be a minus. And then we're going to put that in the numerator as well, so that when we multiply, we're multiplying by a form of 1, so that we're not changing the value, we're just changing the look of it. In the numerator, we do not have a conjugate pair, so we're going to keep that factored. We're not going to actually FOIL that out. In the denominator, we do have a conjugate pair, so we will FOIL that out. First, y minus 1 times a y minus 1. We can treat those as one term and just say y minus 1 squared. Outside, a y minus 1 times a negative root will give us a negative of y minus 1 times the root of y squared minus y plus 4. The inside positive root times y minus 1 will give us a positive y minus 1 times the root of y squared minus y plus 4. And then last we have a positive root times a negative root, which will overall give us a negative of y squared minus y and then plus 4. Now the outside and inside terms will be opposite sign and they will cancel each other out. And we're left with limit as y goes to -3 of, in the numerator, 9 minus y squared times y minus 1 minus the square root of y squared minus y plus 4. And all of that over. These are left in the denominator here and here. Now we will need to combine these together, so my next step is I'm going to FOIL out y minus 1 times a y minus 1. That will become y squared minus 2y plus 1. If you need to, you can write y minus 1 times y minus 1 here to help out with the FOILing. And then the next thing we need to do is distribute the minus sign with this remaining expression. So we'll distribute the minus sign in there, which will give us a negative y squared plus a y and then minus a 4. Our next step is to combine any like terms that are in the denominator. The numerator we're just going to keep as is for now. So we'll rewrite the entire numerator. In the denominator, the y squared terms will cancel since they are opposite signs of each other. We have a negative 2y plus a y, that's a negative y, and a positive 1 and a negative 4, that's a negative 3. Now at this point we have power functions. We still are getting 0 over 0. We're getting 0 in the numerator because of that, and 0 in the denominator because of that. They cannot cancel just yet. We will need to factor. In the numerator we have a difference of squares, so that will factor into a 3 plus y and a 3 minus y. And then we have the remaining y minus 1 minus the square root of y squared minus y plus 4. In the denominator we have a negative 1 can factor, and that will give us a y plus 3. Now since y is going to a negative 3, a 3 plus y and a y plus 3, those are what are making 0 over 0, and they can cancel. The order of addition doesn't matter, so those cancel. That will leave us a negative 1 in the denominator. Dividing by negative 1 is equivalent to multiplying by a negative 1. 1 over negative 1 equals negative 1, so I will have now the limit as y goes to the negative 3 of negative of 3 minus y times y minus 1 minus the square root of y squared minus y plus 4. And I can plug in the negative 3 for each of the y's. We should no longer have the 0 over 0 indeterminate form. Instead we are getting negative of 3 minus a negative 3 times negative 3 minus 1 minus the square root of negative 3 squared minus a negative 3 plus 4. So we have the negative of what will become 3 plus 3. And then negative 3 minus 1 is a negative 4 minus the square root of negative 3 squared is a 9, minus a negative 3 is plus 3, and plus a 4. So we have negative of 3 plus 3 is a 6, and then we have minus 4 minus the square root of 9 plus 3 is a 12 plus a 4 is a 16. So that gives us a negative 6 multiplying a negative 4 minus square root of 16 is a 4. So we have a negative 6 times a negative 8, and that gives us a positive 48.